Hi everyone, my name is Roderick. I'm one of the co-founders and the COO of Mobii Systems. And today I'll just be taking through some of the technologies that we've developed along the lines of streaming. But to kind of set the tone, I'll play this short little video, which is from the Euros 2024 earlier this year. And this is a scene inside a pub. A guy's got a video stream that's running on his phone. But what you'll notice is that the latency from what he sees is different to the people that are around him in the pub. So he's seen a score that's just been taken from a penalty, but he can't actually celebrate because everybody else in the pub hasn't seen it yet. And this is kind of the challenges that exist today with video streaming in terms of latency and this disconnect between the video world and even the data world on that side. So you'll see now everybody's celebrated, they've finally seen the score, and there's this disconnect between the emotional connection and what you actually see in the video stream. Now, video streaming and the market for video streaming is massive. It's a growing industry. It's becoming incredibly important. Latency is incredibly important. And it's starting to shape the change in terms of where viewers are actually going, into which platforms they are focused on. Now, what Mobii does as a solution is effectively we've developed something called microblock technology, which has allowed us to build a whole framework around media services that we can deploy into cloud environments. So we're working with customers where we can deploy a media services architecture into their environment, and it gives them a lot of benefits. So one of the first obvious benefits is latency. Now, in our technology, latency that would typically be 30 seconds or up to a minute, we can bring that latency right down to a quarter of a second. So the same time it takes an average human to blink their eye, we've actually streamed at scale across the globe, and people can experience live content or live streaming that is actually really live. So the nice thing about our latency and our video technology is that can be integrated into existing video players very seamlessly. There's nothing proprietary in the output, so it's plug and play, and you can deploy this into existing environments quite easily. But it's not just about latency. The challenge around the video streaming industry as a whole gets much deeper. So when you look at, for example, you take a baseball example. Now, you've got an app that shows you exactly what's happened in terms of a foul that just took place. Your video stream is sitting behind, and I know that this is going to be a foul because I've seen it in the data already. So this disconnect between systems that are relying on data to make decisions, whether it's micro-betting, whether it's analytics systems, it becomes very difficult to bridge these two worlds together. Another example here showing a car that's coming into a pit lane entrance, but you'll notice the speed, because it's a data layer separated from video, it becomes incredibly difficult to try and align data and video in a live environment at real time. So as you can see, 163 miles an hour, but in the video he's actually stopped in the pit lane. So this disconnect is really a challenge. Now, what Mobii's done is we've built not just a system that can bring latency right down, but it's focused on synchronization at the same time. So when we speak about synchronization from a starting level, if we have multiple camera angles, we can keep them all in perfect frame sync, and we can deliver all of these camera feeds with this real-time latency. So that has significant impact in sports workflows. If you're looking at television match officiating, medical teams, coaches, analysts, anybody that relies on video in that world. But what it also allows us to do when you have video that's perfectly synchronized and you can deliver it at this real-time latency is that when you start to bring data into the mix, now you can start to create some really interesting experiences. So, for example, here we have an interactive overlay that a user can control. Now, you can't do that today because you might see a score update and you're waiting 15 seconds in the video before you actually see it take place. Now, we can bring those two worlds together. So it means that in sports like this, you can start to create different types of user experiences. So somebody that's learning about sport can have a very simplistic overlay that they can control. And somebody that's really deep diving into the nuts and bolts around detail, they can have their own kind of experience. So it's driven by the end user. But bringing a data layer together with video is the key to this whole piece. Now, the other thing that becomes interesting is not just around the user experience side in terms of interactive streaming, but what you can use data and video when it's synchronized to actually accomplish. So for example, in some of these use cases here, if you have all the video feeds and they're brought in a synchronized way into the cloud, and you have data that's synchronized with the video, you can start to now construct different types of streams automatically. So instead of just having a broadcast feed that would generally go to the public, you can actually use data to create specific streams on a player, on a driver, on a team, or on a group of players. So you're creating a lot more divergent content in an automated way. The other nice thing about having data that is perfectly synchronized to video is that things like instant replays or clipping becomes incredibly easy to do in a real-time way. So, for example, looking at the 5 shots on hole 18, by clicking on that metric, you can actually automatically go and find all the video content in real time, stitch them all together, and actually create a separate stream for that end user. So looking at the 5 shots from this player, or as an end user wanting to look at the 5 shots across 3 totally different players, having this ability to work with synchronized video and data allows lineouts, which is part of a metric, clicking on it automatically fetching all that content in real time from every camera angle that was linked towards it. So as a company, what Mobii's done is really brought these 2 worlds together of video and data, but in a real-time way. So we're using it to solve a range of different workflows, from the sports side all the way through broadcast, and there's many different sort of verticals in between there. For those who want to download the presentation I just shared now, you can go to comcast.mobii.com or scan the QR code. And if you want to chat to us, we'll be in the back there at the Comcast Sports Tech area. Thank you.